Hello and welcome to this episode of the Event Manager Podcast by Skift Meetings, the podcast for curious event professionals who are embracing the future of business events. My name is Miguel Neves and I'm the editor-in-chief of Skift Meetings. In this episode titled The Rollercoaster Ride of Virtual Tech, I have the pleasure of speaking with Tony Kula, the CEO of MeetU. We talk about the incredible journey that virtual event tech platforms have been on in the last few years. We talk about who are the new clients for virtual event tech platforms and why Tony doesn't believe in hybrid events. We talk about how reconnecting in person is all people need right now, but exhibitors and sponsors will soon be demanding more return on their investment. We talk about how in-person events rely on emotional responses, while virtual events really just need the tech to work. And we talk about the importance of virtual event attendees overcoming their negative association with the COVID pandemic. I hope you enjoy listening to this conversation, and I invite you to check out the other episodes of the Event Manager Podcast by Skift Meetings on our website, or you can subscribe on your favorite podcast service.
Now for a word from our sponsors, PHL Life Sciences, a division of the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau. Host your convention or trade show in Philadelphia, one of America's leading life sciences hubs. PHL Life Sciences, the first and only CVB division of its kind, will connect you to the professionals at the forefront of your industry and to a culture you can only find in Philadelphia. A city known for its rich history that's forging a bright future, Philadelphia challenges the expected and defies convention. A world of discovery is waiting. Visit phllife.com to learn more.
Welcome to today's episode of the Event Manager Podcast. I am delighted to be joined by Tony Kula, the CEO of MeetU. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hi, Miguel.
Nice to see you. I think we met during the COVID pandemic. We've never met in person, but we've met a few times virtually, and I've been at one of your events as well. We did a kind of interview a little while back. I've been following the MeetU journey a little bit. I have to admit, I've only known the company for a couple of years, but I'd really like to start kind of by you introducing yourself. And I know you have a long history in tech and event tech and virtual tech. So could you give us a sort of small introduction into your world and how that world has developed over the last, I think, 20 years or something like that you've been involved?
Yeah, thank you, Miguel, for disclosing then my age. So yeah, my name is Tony. I'm 52 years old, and basically I'm all my business life I'm in conferencing and collaboration. So that is like the red line that was always my career. And yeah, that changed a lot. So I started with actually with video conferencing, and then went more towards audio conferencing, which was obviously a bigger market and a very interesting business. And then from audio conferencing, we started with audio events, and that is how I came into this event thing. I have to see.
Could you expand on that a little bit? Audio events? What does that mean? How does that work?
Audio events are just large audio conferences. We did a lot of investor relation calls. So that was like the time when the web was just starting, and it was a very efficient tool. It was like operator assisted. And people would just dial into to a certain time that was agreed, and then operator was greeting them, and it was a very efficient method. And it's still we do a lot of audio conference. Interesting enough, also it was like kind of a revival when the pandemic started. So people are looking for a solution to communicate. Audio, everyone has a telephone, so people were just using that heavily. But we see that it is in decline, and we had I had to reinvent ourselves. And in 2016, I bought a small company. I always liked the ideas to be somewhere without traveling. So that is like starting with the video conference. So because also I always had this sustainability think in my head that there must be smarter ways than to travel all the time. So and I found this company, UB Band, that already started 10 years ago with digital events. And that was 2016. And we wanted to become more independent. We were reselling also on 24 American provider for webcast. When it started, we were like adding value to the pure audio conferencing. So people who wanted to share presentations, they wanted to show something, and then, but like with the audio conferencing, we wanted to possess the technology and be more in control. So that is when we started to look for other companies, and we bought this small provider and the pure software business. And the first thing that we built was then what we call today Meet You Show. It's our own webcast tool. And digital events was very, very small at that time, like 1-2 digital events. Like some large customers like SAP were using that. But it was a very well hidden type of technology. So it was not, people were just meeting like they always did. And then, you know the story. Then in 2020, when the pandemic hit, it was like, as an entrepreneur, it was, I would say, I experienced some things over 30 years of being self-employed, but this was like, no one could expect us to be like at the right time with the right solution, and just a couple of vendors worldwide, like 6 Connex and VFirst, that were in the market. And then there was this crazy demand, and the company grew very, very fast. We didn't have enough project managers, and we had to hire. And and then that was like for 2 years, crazy growth. And fast forward, it's now to see. It's interesting to see. There is now it's that is what I was writing about in my last. On LinkedIn, that you see all the people are going back now to in person, and it's really a setback, and will be interesting to see where the pendulum swings back. We believe before the pandemic that digital events are here to stay. I think looking at the overall trend, it is still strong. It's like 10 times like what it was before, but compared to the strongest quarter in 21. It feels a little bit hard at the moment, being in the digital event business. But this is, I think, the truth for a lot of tech businesses.
For sure. So a couple of things I want to unpack there. So you're saying if you compare, January 2020 with May of 2022, you're still there's still way more demand for virtual events than there was before the pandemic, right?
Yeah. We compared Q1 like 2018, 2019, when we were like doing that as a side business beside our conferencing, and Q1 this year, and it's like 10 times the revenue. We have to see. So it is still a significant business, and it by far outperformed our old conferencing business. This is also interesting that the pandemic killed teleconferencing. So no one is doing any audio conferencing. So people are so used to meet on video that this is just some very old school businesses, like some banks and lawyers are still using that. But beside it, it's just disappeared.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, I mean, I guess that really is an example of how much technology has developed during the pandemic, right? We really kind of moved forward very, very fast. And hopefully the expectations from the users has also changed a lot. One thing that we've been looking at Skift Meetings a bit is the size of the market. Do you have any, do you have any idea what the size of the market is? I mean, I don't know how much you can reveal, but internally, do you have any kind of calculations that you make, or is it very much a sort of like, we'll see when it sort of settles, and then maybe we can figure out some numbers at that point?
I've been being asked that a lot, Miguel, but this is just such a wild guessing, because it's also definition. What is like a digital event, and is it like the stream? Is it together with the on-site production and all this? I can't give you any number that would be solid, or like, this is just wild guessing.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what we're finding as well. And we're looking into the different, we see a lot of, for example, press releases where certain numbers are used from certain pieces of research. But then when we go in more detail, and figure out how that piece of research calculated that number, it's very hard to find anything that you would consider solid, or that you consider sort of, with some solid basis.
That's true. We also participated in this Gartner survey, and we're like part of the forester research, and even they don't really know. I think it's the market is just starting to develop and be more clear, also the sectors and everything, and because there are like the borders are so like unclear. It's like, what is a webinar, what is part of, do you, if you take like Zoom events and other technologies into consideration, that suddenly becomes such a huge market, or is it just, so it's no, the answer is no. I don't know.
Yeah, and I really said part of the problem is really defining what we're measuring, right? Is it event tech? Is it virtual event tech? Is it conferencing, etc.? Yes. I want to go back to what you mentioned also. So before the pandemic, companies like SAP were one of the few kind of creating virtual events.
Yeah.
Is that because, you know, they're a technology company and doing a virtual event in a virtual environment sort of, I guess, you know, pleased investors and made them look cool as a technology company? Or is there more to it?
I think SAP was always a very innovative company, and they wanted to bring people together. They were like, also in my previous life when I was selling video conferencing, they were having these large boardrooms and they were using telepresence. They always try new stuff. And they always were like thinking, how can we connect people in a smarter way? They always did also physical events, of course, but for internal stuff, they tried a lot. Not only SAP, there's some other companies, but I think most of them were like technology companies. So, yeah.
So there was sort of probably a balance of kind of looking good, but also exploring new techniques.
Yeah. And they found value in that. They really liked it. They're still a customer. It's, but it's also maybe the explanation for that is that the founders of UB Event, which are still now our today's CTO and our chief sales officer, they were working for SAP. So, so they started their business coming from SAP. And
that makes sense. I mean, that's quite natural. Yeah. So you mentioned the LinkedIn post. So let's jump to that. I think you wrote a very honest LinkedIn post recently. We'll add that in the show notes. And really
more accident, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the LinkedIn post also mentioned another LinkedIn post that you deleted. And I think there was a sort of a real moment of honesty and kind of just sharing your feelings, which I think everybody really appreciates. I don't know if it was, you know, your most popular LinkedIn post ever or something like that, but I think that kind of stuff always rings true with people, right? And people go like, yeah, you know, let's talk about this. Like, people don't normally talk about this. So could you take me through, you know, what you were thinking, what you said, and the reaction that people had?
It was not the most popular, Miguel. That was when I got my booster shot. It was close, and I was really not expecting that. It had far more than 20,000 views. I don't know, which is for me good. Yeah, I deleted a post which was like a little bit cynical. So are we going now? When are we going to speak about sustainability and those things? So like more greenwashing. So everyone is like posting selfies. And I was like, as a digital event provider, you were like the kid on the playground that sits alone, and all the others are on a party. So I don't know if just to give you a picture.
Makes sense.
And I said then to myself, after like really no engagement and a stupid post after 1 or 2 hours, I said, okay, I have to delete it. That is so stupid and like in a way childish. So and then I was reflecting and thinking, okay, why did I write that? And people, they're just happy to meet, and it was so important for the event industry. And I was thinking, okay, we're like 1 quarter in this year after the pandemic, let's say, and it is a strong setback. But what should people feel that been like 2 years with basically no business, and they had to transform so hard, and they had to do digital stuff, which I don't know if they really liked it, but they had to. There was no other alternative. So and the trade shows, they had no business at all, and everything. And I was just writing about these thoughts, and also combined with the hope that digital and physical can someday will come closer together, and that get some good reactions.
Yeah. Do you, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, thank you for your honesty in sharing those things. And I do think that those kind of posts are very important. Do you feel, kind of reading between the lines a little bit of what you're saying, that there seems to still be some way to go for event planners and virtual tech providers to really partner? Because it sounds like there's a bit of a fight going on. And this may be something just like, as we're getting back to in-person events, just, kind of, I just want to meet face to face. I don't want to deal with the technology. But I mean, hopefully we're entering a world where the two work together really well. Do you feel there's still some work to be done in terms of partnering and in terms of really supporting each other?
Look, Miguel, we've been never working so much with event planners. To be honest, this is also why I haven't planned to go to IMEX. I think that has changed. We've discussed it. That event planners, I think they rather care about all the details. They're coming from a very physical world. So they always had tech, like in a way, okay, also on a wedding event, you had the guy that is doing the photos and everything. So so that was maybe in a business event, that was some kind of streaming, but or they had to use some ticketing. But I think because the way we were acting, like really, we were like a substitute for physical events. So it was, the whole experience was digital. And I think these people intrinsic, or their motivation is to do physical events. So like that will be always like an extension. For us, the question is more who's driving that. And I think if like we're not so much working with agencies and those type, so we have more like a focus which is on the enterprise. And is as you said, for your own events in Skift, it's like the HR department, or it's like the communication departments, or it's like the marketing department that wants to do some type of communication. So they were asking us, and that was, it's another thing. I think they are forced maybe now to do that because that is the customer demand. And I would hope that, and that is this big discussion about hybrid. And I also have to reveal now that I don't believe in hybrid. It's like you rather have like a good physical event where people go intentionally because they want to meet, they want to have drinks, they have everything, and it's like okay, and then you can refactor the content and you have a stream and you can watch that later. But I don't see any big value that you combining online audiences and offline audiences. I always compare that with other not business related things, and you just, it's nice after the wedding party, you want to look at the pictures. But so we were never going that hybrid path. We have hybrid offerings, but we had that like 20 years ago. We always did our own streaming and these type of things with the video conferencing stuff. And you could have people joining in from other sides. But I don't know. I think there's value for pure physical events with some digital extensions where you can have like a pre-event, post-event, and you're capturing the material and you can watch the streams and everything. And then you have like the pure digital events. And I believe that, and this is looking back at 20 years in my career, that every crisis, and I think we're at the beginning of a severe economic downturn, is good for any kind of communication company, and because people cannot travel. And also, I think after everyone went again to some physical events, we have to go back to this sustainability agenda, because I feel that this climate thing is something serious that we need to tackle, and we have to be more careful and mindful which events are we going to attend. Maybe it's the one big gathering of the community, like you're going to IMEX, it's once or twice a year, and other things can be easily done digital. And with digital, I mean full digital. So you don't have like a break in the communication. Everything is like from the invitation registration, the data, everything. It's digital. So and we've been always focused on pure digital events.
Are you ready to celebrate your successes in the world of meetings and events? The Skift Meetings Awards are back for 2024, recognizing the most innovative business events companies across 15 categories, and we want you to be a part of it. Winners will feature on Skift Meetings, sending a clear signal to events professionals around the world that these are partners they can rely on. The final deadline for submissions is June 11th. We encourage you to start your submission today to secure the best entry rates. For more information and to start your submission, head to live.skift.com.
Wow, lots to unpack there. I'd love to come back.
Yeah, sorry. It's
No, that's great. I mean, first you mentioned that your clients are not really event planners, and I think that's really interesting. And it sounds to me like you were quite conscious of that throughout the pandemic as well, right? So they weren't your clients before, and they're unlikely to be afterwards. But during the pandemic, there was a sort of new client base, so like a transient client base that came to you and said, we need your platform. We need a solution to do what we used to do in person, but can't do right now.
Yeah, and these are all the customers that are gone again.
Yeah.
So they're all disappeared. So all the guys that did physical things, they're going back to physical, all festivals, all events, all people that are in the brick and mortar business, that are selling tickets, that are renting space, they're all gone. So, and we're not the people that are going to work with them in the future. We've been always more focused on enterprise business.
And so the 10X that you're seeing now is still without those people, or mainly without those people.
I don't have anything against those people, and
I'm not suggesting that you do. I'm just kind of like you're saying, business is not as good as it was, during the pandemic. Totally understandable, but it's still 10 times more than it was pre-pandemic. And I'm just kind of asking, is that 10 times basically like without those planners, without those in-person planners anymore? So you've still attracted more kind of enterprise companies that you're hoping will kind of continue and grow from there.
We're not only hoping, we also see that all the business, so there's no leads from the market from that type of the business. We just see that, and that is the good thing, because we're so long in the business that our like big bank customers and others, like they're using much more video conferencing and Zooms and everything. They're like doing much more digital events, and it's the same customer that we had. And we tried many things. We had a partner model. We had like a more self-servicing and everything, but we see that it's really getting back on a different level to where we were before the pandemic. And that is good. So overall, it was a big boost. We also overstaffed in terms of services and everything. And that's never nice if you have to let people go. So I think this is getting to a different level, but it's still significantly more than it was before. But also before we were not, but I think that maybe the job of a meeting planner has changed a bit, so they know digital. But I believe that these people, their life is about making things, and that's also the essence of an event, make something special out of it. So it's from the decoration, it's the food, it's like the content, it's everything. It's like they want to deliver an experience, and this is a very agency or the agencies, event agencies. So they want to make something special. So this is why the metaverse is something now. It's like no one knows what it exactly is, but it is something new. It's something you can experience something. It's like you have this aha moments. It's like you're going to a nice party and you see the decoration. You open the doors opening and you see everything is done so mindful. I'm just telling this because I was at last weekend as a very nice bat mitzvah party. So, and they did every detail was so mindful, and there was magicians and all these things. You can't really do that as a software business. So we have to be realistic about it. Yeah.
It's I think what you're saying is the event planners are focused on creating physical experiences.
Yes.
And you have a different type of people that are focused on creating great online experiences, right? And those aren't necessarily the same thing, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we have to see. Maybe it will be a new generation of event planners in the future that are embracing that more. But it's like, it's bringing that experience together. But I don't know. I think in my world there is a need for both. But
Absolutely.
we have to. This is what I was just writing about yesterday. It's like the physical event is like the cream cake. It's like the best you can have, because you have the effort, you have the cost, you go there, you want to be entertained, you want to have a good time, you want to go with inspiration. The other thing will be consumed much more. Still, I think we should do that in a nice and engaging way.
Yeah.
But we don't have, the only sense that we can, and this is our way how we do things, is like our eyes. And maybe in the future it's more the metaverse, I don't know. But so I think we should not make a digital event look like a Zoom call or a Hangout. This is why we have this graphical approach with more immersion, and like others have also. But I don't think that, and I'm really curious to see how that will go with Hopin and these others, which try to make events like a SaaS model, because I think an event is not so much a recurring thing. It's not like you don't do events like you're using your CRM or like you're using your video conference. And if it's always the same thing, it's not an event for me. So
really interesting. You also mentioned that, you don't really believe in hybrid. I think there's a lot of definitions of hybrid floating around, right? And I think you also mentioned, you can have an in-person event and you do some streams and stuff like that. And I think a lot of people would call that hybrid, right?
Yeah.
So I think what I think you said is you don't really believe in that completely hybrid model where you're trying to connect an online audience and an on-site audience, and you're trying to kind of force them to network almost, or kind of force them to have the same experience. You don't think that is worth really investing in, because the experiences are always going to be different. They're going to be good, but different, right?
First of all, you also know, Miguel, it was like when we started our series, and you've been part of that event, we all were like, I can remember, the future is hybrid. The future of events will be hybrid. Okay. So this future exists for a long time. I did hybrid events in 1997 with large video conferencing equipment. It is just, we can extend the reach. We can connect different places in the world and bring in, we always brought in speakers by video conferencing. It was like, so this is also in a way hybrid. But I don't see the point that you're going on an event. You might use digital tools like Grip is doing, so that you navigate on an event, or what we also do is like, you have like what we call like an always on event. You have some parts that are in the digital world, and they're then, or you have like, or the other way around, that you have a physical event that is extended into the digital world, but not necessarily at the same time. So it was very much a thinking. So I have this, and because this is like, I don't know, compare it with Sky and football games. So if it's, we have like, I'm here from Germany, Eintracht Frankfurt was like in this, I wish I could go. They were like winning in the Europe League. And that is a game you want to watch live. And you have all this experience and the beers and the friends and the excitement. But still, it's like a different type of event if you watch that on your TV, and that's also okay. So you have both, but I'm not sitting at home and chatting with the people that are in the stadium, or I don't need to be connected to them. So I sit here with, so this is like the difference. And I always thought that hybrid, or like it was understood by technology providers, they should bring the same kind of experience for you at home, but it's not the same thing, because you don't have the energy, you don't have the noise around, you don't have all these things, and you can't do that digitally. So I think, hybrid is okay, extending reach, refactoring using your content twice, and all these things, that makes sense. But this is not the future, and that is by far not new. We always did that. We always streamed from events and had people watching from home.
Yeah, this sort of more asynchronous version of hybrid is definitely not a new thing if you can kind of use the content in different ways.
Yeah.
And how much of this do you think is about just human nature, in the sense that when we travel to an event, when we're physically at a place, we've invested in it, right? We're kind of invested in the event by going there and being there. But when we're online, we're only one click away from something else, right?
Yeah. That is, you have a different expectation if you're going and you're investing the time and you're flying and you're, it's also the carbon footprint if you look at that. So you want that to be worth it. And I think at the moment it is like type of an overreaction, because no one can tell me that looking at OMR, and I was speaking to others or to my partner that was visiting in Barcelona, the ISE and these type of things, is like everyone that I was talking to was like, it was so nice to meet people again. Nothing was about, we generated leads, or it was really, so no one's looking at ROI or things like that. And that is okay, because I think that the main thing at the moment was just like when restaurants opened again, it was nice. Oh, finally, no more home delivery. I can go in a place with other people, and I can. I think that it's probably a peak now. I also heard a lot of people that were like having their bookings on trade shows like 2 years, and they could go and have their stand. Like the organizers were asking for them. It's like with my I'm a triathlete, and I have still my things that I applied for different races I could not attend, and you were like extended into the next year, and you get extra discount because they would just go out of business if you wanted all the money back. So I think there's a very big accumulation of events right now this summer and these months, and that's totally okay. That was also the reflection of my post, so that the community is just coming back together. I think that will even out in the future. So
and that need for ROI, that's not going away, right? I think we're all happy to see each other again, but ultimately, if exhibitors are not getting the leads, if they're not getting the data that they're looking for, at some point they will ask questions and say, this isn't right. How do we make this better, right? And I think
and I think the marketing budgets, they were allocated a long time, but with new allocations for the future, they will really look again on how is the ROI and these type of things. It will not be enough just to be there and have a great party. I think it's fair for the moment, but that will change.
Be an interesting development. So let's talk a little bit about sustainability. I know it's one of the things that you talk a lot about. I know you're an athlete. You care about the environment. Is this, playing devil's advocate a little bit, is this just a way to sell virtual technology, or is there, and I don't believe that myself, but I'd love to kind of just play devil's advocate. Tell me how we can really be more sustainable and make those choices, and I guess still impact people, right? Because I think we're talking about virtual being a very different technology, right? But we want to make sure that we impact and we have that ROI and it creates a positive impact. Sustainability, yes, a virtual event is far more sustainable, essentially because the travel and the consumption, etc., is not there, right? But what does that really play out as?
First of all, I wish that would make a difference, and I wish that people would, but this is not part of the decision process. If I'm like playing the sustainability drums, no one cares about it. That's the truth. So no one makes a decision based on, okay, this is more sustainable, or this is like, there are other stronger factors that we will see in the future. And I think for the enterprise business, this is pure economic factors, because traveling is expensive. It will become more expensive. But unfortunately, climate change is something that is not very close to people. I still think, but this is maybe a bit idealistic, and also the purpose of our companies that we have a technology that helps a little bit to decarbonize, but this is probably not the strongest argument, especially right now, if you see that everyone is traveling again to events and all these things. But and it's also very obvious because the biggest part is the carbon footprints comes all from traveling, that if you stay at home, that you're saving emissions. But this is, it's not the strongest argument, but still, I think that everyone can contribute and must contribute. We don't have so much time. And I can start only with myself. I started years ago. I have no car and all these things. So I took this. I mean, you also have small kids, I hope. And it, somehow still, I feel, if you have like a tornado in Germany, this is something we didn't have like 10, 20 years ago. So we feel that something must change. But still, I think people are selfish, and it's this. We're like, it's a bit sad, but we're like idiots. I mean, we see that this is happening in front of us. And I was just reading another day a post of someone that was traveling to the US or like the mid-US, and also in Germany, as I don't want to point at the US, actually, you still see people with this large SUVs. You still see the traveling is like it was like before. And I don't know, this is a bit sad in a way.
It's an issue.
It's an issue. I personally believe that technology providers like VR and all the Hopins and all the others, if we're just taking a part of what was before physical online, we help in a way to decarbonize the overall emissions of events. And I don't know if you know that I also did not have exact numbers, so I don't know the market size of digital event business, but I know this now the emissions of all physical events are accounting like for all the emissions of the United States, or like 10% of all global emissions. So the event industry has really a big climate impact. And if you're looking at the agenda towards 2050, what's going to be done, digitization has a very minor part. And it's just more about how do we recycle waste, how we do this and that. But the biggest impact would just be if people are not going so much, if they would not travel. But we like to make these photos. We like to be on site. We like to have it will be interesting.
I mean, you mentioned something that I think is quite interesting. The financial motivation is the biggest, is far bigger than the sustainability motivation for companies.
Yes.
But you also, because you mentioned that travel will get more expensive. So in some ways, they sort of, that then has an impact, right? So that might not be the motivation, but if there's a bigger cost attached to it, then that may help as well. So it's interesting to think about how virtual events can kind of help in that sense. And are you having conversations with any companies that say, the last 2 years we didn't travel, we're just as profitable, if not more. Let's figure out how to do this without traveling, and maybe your tool can help us do this. Are you having those kind of conversations?
Not exactly those conversations, but it's also like, it's interesting, Miguel. We see, or we know, like from the past 2 years, the home office is working, the video conferencing is working, all these things, and we're using that all the time. And we also saw that, there is still much room for improvement. Digital events did work. So people had came together, we improved so much in the technology, and not only we as Meet You, like the last 2 years, we did so much on the platform, also all the others. And but once we could reopen and meet in person, a lot of people jumped away. And that shows me that an event is something that is very emotional, like in a video conference or before an audio conference call, you just wanted that this is just working properly. So we have all the same the setup is still the same also now post-pandemic, but people, I believe, they prefer now to get back in person, because one of the main things that you have is like this emotional factor, and economic aspects will be stronger. So you have to justify, why do I need there? Why do I spend my time? Why do I travel? Why do I have this why do I consume these emissions? But for the next 2-3 quarters, I think people were just going, they just wanted to go on site. And after that, in my world, I believe there will be like a coexistence of digital or virtual events and physical events. So probably you will attend the top 3 events of your industry in person, which is okay. And if you can't go, you will look at the stream, and other things will be probably more, hopefully. So we believe that the overall market will significantly grow and also stable. Yeah,
that's interesting. So maybe the large events will focus on that in-person experience, but the smaller events, the more niche events, would do well to invest in solid virtual versions, or yes, create more of a virtual experience to enable that community and kind of reap the benefit of that, rather than try to convince people to travel again and do everything again.
And you also have to see that the large events, unfortunately, they are that are consuming or the most having the biggest impact on the climate. These are, there are two classes of events that we always focus like on company internal events. So these are like events for all kind of people. So these are like more industry gatherings. These are like trade shows, festivals, all these things. But everything that will happen inside the company, there is this market where we see our niche is like, we see us in a segment which is above the daily Zoom and Hangout call. Mm-hmm. Something that should be more special. And but mainly, or most of the time, this is a company internal thing, or a company wants to reach out to its customers and these type of things. But and I think that most of this will happen digitally in the future.
Very interesting. So, want to go change topic completely. Mm-hmm. I also saw that you've been very active in doing things to support the crisis in Ukraine, mm-hmm. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about that, because I was particularly. I was very interested in your approach. It wasn't the normal approach of, hey, I'm going to raise some funds, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to raise the issue. You actually, I believe, bought one or more vehicles and actually drove the vehicle or had someone drive that vehicle to Ukraine with supplies in it. And then you left mm-hmm. the vehicle there. Really interesting approach. Why did you choose to do that? And how did that kind of come together?
First of all, when that came over us, it was like we I don't know, we just felt we have to do how can we help? So I just reached out to here in Berlin. We have like there's a charity that was always working and helping the Ukraine, and I was just asking him, what do you need? And the guy told me, we need ambulance cars. So there are smaller villages, they're cut off from medical support and everything. And I had another friend, a doctor, and she was also starting to collect medicines and things like that. And I was just starting to research and going to watch who looked at some cars, and then I bought a used car. And it was a very pragmatic approach, Miguel. It was nothing really, the people just needed that, and we tried to help. And then, we got the money together. I had some other people. I called some other friends and some other entrepreneurs and said, would you help? And then we even bought a second one, and they were brought over, and people were very, very happy that they got this type of help. But the solidarity was not, I mean, we did that, but others did others. So many volunteers here at the main train station that were welcoming to people. There was this big wave of solidarity, which unfortunately now I see that this is now, I think, the third month that this war, this terrible thing is happening. In a way, we're getting a bit used to it, this news, and we don't want to see that. No one is posting about these things. But what we did now is, and we were saying, okay, how can we continuously help? And what we did is that we have started to employ people from the Ukraine. So we have Ukrainian developers, and it's sometimes we have and that is a crazy story, but we have them in our, I was part of this development call sometimes. I'm really not a developer, and they don't want to have me in that meetings. But one was with a Kalashnikov in the back. The other one's the drone pilot that said, okay, I can't attend this meeting, or I can't work at that moment because I have other duties. So we're trying to, and they are tremendously grateful to have work. And this is because that gives them a sense that life is in a way a bit of normal. But they this is the way how we are going forward with that.
Well, I think it's great that we're able to highlight that, and thank you for doing that. I think it's it's an amazing thing that you did. So happy to be able to highlight that.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Wanted to kind of start wrapping up. If you could change something about the event industry, or I guess virtual events, if you will, do you have a clear idea of what you would like to change? If you could kind of click your fingers and suddenly something change, would it be, people's openness to virtual events? Would it be something in the technology? What would you like to kind of really change as fast as you can?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think we should. For me, it became okay that there is this. I still feel it's like two worlds, and it's too separated. And we should see both technologies or both ways we're doing events, in person, virtual, should be something that is totally normal in our world. It's like having a Zoom call or having a personal meeting, like eating out or having some kind of delivery. I still feel that because people were forced to use that technology, they still associate digital events very much with the pandemic, and that is something negative. And I hope that we will overcome that, and people will understand that this is something they can benefit from, and this is not, it's either or. So it's like, it's one time that makes more sense, and this is such an important meeting, and we want to have the people on site, like we're doing like with our leadership offsite now. Meeting people in person is making more sense for that type of gathering, and so that there will a more like peaceful coexistence, and that there is not such a hard dividing between these two type of technologies. So
I think
I would wish for that.
That's a really interesting perspective, and I think you're right. I almost feel like virtual events need a bit of a Tesla moment. In the way that I think Tesla made it, exciting to have an electric car. Yeah, I think electric cars have existed for a long time, but it's only when Tesla suddenly came out with this huge acceleration and just really impressed people that people suddenly went, "Ooh, I want one of those." And I feel like we're sort of missing that now. Like you say, people still associate virtual events with this pandemic period of sort of being forced to do that. Yes. And I think we probably need a moment where people say, "Ooh, that's exciting. I want to do that." And not because I have to, but because I want to, right?
Yeah, and we also have to say, as tech providers, we could sell everything at that time. And so many companies were started during these 2 years. We see them go away again. But for us, it's really about now improving on the technology, making that more reliable, trying to make it more engaging, and all these things that we can achieve with technology. So it's also important that we keep on working. And now, but I don't think we should compete. We should not say, okay, people try very much to copy in person into digital, and that is not working. We have other benefits. We can do more things with data, and we have other things, and we should focus on improving those things instead of trying to get the energy into. And I mean, you know, all the craziness. We tried yoga classes and all kinds of stuff, and cocktail hours on I don't know if this is the best way to try to do with the software. Yeah.
If you could get to be a physical cocktail, then I think it works. If it's all virtual, then it might be
that's the way to go. Yeah. Maybe in the metaverse, we will see.
Exactly, a metaverse cocktail. Tony, been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed chatting with you, and thank you for your honesty and kind of being so open about everything. Wanted to get the last question to you, which is really a recommendation for someone else that we should invite onto the podcast. We asked this of all our guests, and we are now talking to people who were recommended to us from the first episodes of the podcast. So I'd love to get anyone at all, can be in the industry or outside the industry, anyone who you'd recommend that we should have on the podcast as a future guest.
But he or she needs to be from the events industry.
Not at all. As long as as long as we can have an interesting conversation that's relevant to people that work in events, then I'm completely open to anybody at all.
I think you should speak to our ambassador and my close friend, Jonas Deichmann, who just did an amazing thing. He was like going around the world just by his own power. But he speaks now about mindset, and he's a great guy. And I think mindset is so important these days. And also, I think the event industry is also a lot about mindset. And maybe that could be an interesting. He knows a lot about events you wouldn't tell.
That's perfect. And I know that you're very inspired by him, and you're also a triathlete, etc. So I think that mindset is definitely an important part of everything we do.
And he's a super nice human. So if you get him, speak to him on the podcast, I think it's really interesting what he experienced and how he sees events from his perspective.
Perfect. Thank you for the recommendation, Tony. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for being on the podcast with us.